Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'll call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian, Wednesday, December 4th, 2019, at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cavey?
Here.
Trustee Crowley?
Here.
Trustee Gillis? Trustee Ivan?
Here.
Trustee Killelea? Trustee Kreis?
Here.
Mayor LaRue?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll open the floor to public comment. If you'd like to be made a matter of public record, please stand, state your name and address. Jean.
Jean Bartecki. Just a reminder, we have Dylan's food drive going on, and we need to, his goal is 10,000 pounds, and we need to make him get his goal. So right now, as of yesterday, I think he was up to 1,700 pounds. So he approximately said, I think it was 300 and something pounds of food a day. So come on out and support this kid, and let's get him to meet his goal this year. We did it last year, we can do it this year.
Thank you. What day does it go through, Jean?
New Year's Eve.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I'll close the floor to public comment and move on to trustee business. We're going to start with Trustee Ivan tonight so that our guest can not be here long, hopefully.
And miss all the fun?
If I could just make one comment, I know Trustee Killelea is going to be here. Could we wait to talk, if we're talking about the bonds, until Trustee Killelea gets here? Usually he's here like 5 minutes. He usually comes floating in right about now.
Sure. You want to go first then, Trustee Kreis?
Well, I'll start, and then if Don gets here, we can go right into the bond business, if that's okay. I think everybody was asleep after the holiday until today, but I do have a couple updates. Okay, we'll wait for my updates, because guess who's here? Don.
Thank you, Don.
Let the record reflect that Trustee Killelea is in the house. I mean, present. Trustee Ivan?
Thank you, Mayor. I basically want to start talking about the 2019-2020 bonds. Looks like everything is on target and ready to go. As of probably we go to market on Wednesday with the offer to refinance the bonds and to get the new monies, at least for the 2019, and then 30 days later for the 2020 stuff. So I attached a bunch of documents and various other things to the agenda item. Is there any outstanding questions still that need to be answered? I will note that we did find that it was in our best interest to shorten the one bond, or the series of bonds by 1 year to save some monies. Anything else like that would, anything longer than 1 year would probably influence the deal going to the market, which we don't want to do at this point in time. So if there's any questions.
So it's kind of a question. So if I'm correct in what I read and what I've kind of understood, the two attachments, the village ordinance 2036 and 2037, are the two ordinances that we passed about back in August, correct? They're the exact, except now they have numbers underneath them, correct?
I believe that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So these are not going to be the final documents. These are just examples of what.
Those are, I'm assuming, I don't know what you're looking at, but you adopted the parameters.
This is not going to be the final documents as far as the money for the bonds.
No, what happens is, as Trustee Ivan mentioned, is we are going to be mailing electronically the village's preliminary official statement. And I don't know, I'm assuming you've seen drafts of that, so that will be finalized, that will be sent to investors tomorrow. Once we have sign off from the bond insurer, BAM, and the village. Once that's done, we're going to take a week for a marketing period, and we're going to talk to investors. We're going to get their interest, try to build interest from investors, and then we're going to do what's called the pricing process on Wednesday of next week. And basically that simply is we launch the market 8:30 usually Central, and then we, let's say you have, just to make it easy, $1 million bonds. We try to find $1 million with orders. If there's more, we lower rates. If there's less, we have to raise rates. But it's basically a market discovery process. Once that's done, we underwrite it. And it is at that point that the authorized officials, and we have to look at the ordinances, I think the mayor, the clerk, would give us a handshake over the phone that everything looks good. You'll get a full notice packet that gives you all savings is generated by this refunding, and from the new money, how much proceeds on the first phase we can get. And then we will finally have what's called a bond purchase agreement executed by the village and mayor. And then it goes to be finalized with a closing process that usually takes a couple of weeks.
So the actual date of the bonds for 2019 would have to be done by when?
They will be done next Wednesday, and it will be closed 2 weeks from that process. So you will have interest rates locked next Wednesday, and 2 weeks from then, you'll receive funds. Any bonds will be returned.
And I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this. I know that we're refunding approximately $8 million in existing bonds to get a lower rate and lower the debt service. And is that the bonds we're going after first, and then after we get the refinance money for those, then we're doing the $10 million?
Well, you're going to do $10 million in 2 phases, because we did an analysis for the village last Thanksgiving that basically showed that it's optimal for you to refund bonds because you have that $1,650,000 constraint. So you're able to kind of empty out that, and then you can place new money in there, and you don't use what's called capitalized interest, which it would take away from your proceeds. So what we try to do is maximize proceeds to the village, and that happens through refunds. And I will mention, just ran on today, which when we started talking about it, it was 5%. Then the summer I showed you numbers that it generated 10% or $860,000. Today, at today's interest rates, we're showing it at 15% or $1.25 million.
That's what our savings would be?
Total savings. So if you think about that, we just emptied out $1,250,000 in debt service, and then we can inlay new money proceeds in there. And that really is the operation.
But I'm still confused. You said we're going to do the $10 million in 2 different phases. So we're doing all the refi money in $5 million, and then another time, and then next year we're doing another $5 million?
What's happening is you are limited from tax law to $10 million for a composite issue. So you're able to do the refunding, which all the refunding together will just cover, $7 million we'll call it. So then we're going to do $3 million new money, and then we're going to come back in January.
Get the rest. Okay. No, I got it.
Okay, and so the question I have is I'm trying to, on the 3.2 new money and the refundings, are those all non-taxable, or is any of it taxable?
This is a bond council determination. All of them are tax exempt.
They are.
But there is one piece of the refunding of your 2010 A's that tax council, nothing to do with theirs, determined you have a proceeds problem on your 2010 A's that they were spent for working cash. And the way of fixing that, where you guys don't have to have any obligation, is a small taxable piece. Why would you not care? Is because interest rates are very low right now. So you're really not losing much, and you're fixing a problem.
Okay, so, but my question is, because I have to ask these questions, how much of that, you're saying it's a 2010A, so that's $5,765,000.
Right.
So of that, how much is going to be taxable? 2 million?
2 million.
Well, that's more than a little.
But what's the tax going to be on it?
And that would be my next question. And I know you don't know exactly until you go to market, but what is the potential difference between taxable and the non-taxable, the spread? And what would that equate to? I know you can't give me an exact, but I want to have some idea.
I think they're pretty close. It's not an exact, because what we're doing is saying we're amortizing the taxable first as much as possible. This is a bond council, tax council determined structure. But I can tell you right now, the taxable has a yield of a 296 debt true interest cost, and the tax exempt has a 280. So that's really in the grand scheme of things.
But you don't know what that would equate to in dollars.
I do not have what that equates to.
Is there any way you could get that for us by tomorrow?
It's only 2 million.
Pardon me?
It's only $2 million, so it's not.
Well, Don,
It's
2
not a
million is
big-
2 million.
Yeah,
But
it's
wait,
not-
our
it's not a
taxes,
big-
wait, our taxes are not 2 million.
Taxes are
No,
No,
the taxes are not 2
no,
million.
no.
You're saying that $2 million of the, if we're refinancing a $5 million bond, what you're saying is 2 million of that 5 million is taxable?
2 million of 5 is taxable, and if you look at it,
And that's
that
because-
basis point.
Okay, so let me just make sure I got this right. So most of our bonds are non-taxable. Some of them are taxable, meaning that if you refinance them or pay them off early, the government's going to tax you on that? Why are we being
It's
taxed?
taxable to the investor.
It's taxable to the investor. Correct.
Oh,
It doesn't matter
It's
to
not
us.
taxable to us. Well, then
No.
why do we care?
Well, the
Why
interest rate is.
interest rate?
Interest
That's the
rate is a little
interest
higher
rate.
than taxable.
Oh, the interest rate will
If
go
I was
higher.
to be
I'm sorry.
clear, we've
Okay.
had conversations, this is again, tax
Okay.
council coming up with this.
Uh-huh.
This is a problem the village has, probably predates all of us here. But 2010 proceeds were used for non-permissible purposes. So the government came in, and Maggie will talk to this, she gets audited, and she has to give the government, you can go, I can tell you then what you do.
You just have to fill out these really specific spreadsheets with lots of information showing that the reason you did that back in 2010 was because we really were cash poor.
Right.
And so they moved money just to do payroll and stuff. So you have to
Right,
have
to keep
fill out
from-
these ongoing
Yeah.
spreadsheets, just to prove up that, yeah, that was why.
Okay.
And this fixes the problem, but if you want to do these tax exempt, then the problem with you guys are good at what you do is your deficits have turned around. You would have to prove out deficits to the federal government projected in the future, and that's where the problem comes because you're so strong. So my point is that taxable bonds are the fix, the easiest.
Hi, Jerry.
You know, the village doesn't have to deal with this going into the future.
Thank you. Sure.
So it's easier not to have the government on your back, just take care of it all at one time and not have to worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so this fixes a problem that we did back in 2010.
Okay.
And so whatever occurs in 2020, those are all tax
Tax
exempt? Okay.
Correct.
So this is a win-win all around, solves old problems, takes care of new problems.
So, I'm sorry.
Just so that I'm clear, so the total amount that we will wind up taking is not the money that is depicted in here. It will depend on what we actually get as far as offers and rates and things like that. So those numbers will change.
Yeah, we have it marked preliminary, subject to change, the structure could change.
Right. So we are taking up to the maximum amount that we can take out based on our self-imposed to not raise any taxes, correct? So we won't really know that second dollar amount until we get to the 2020 option.
You are exactly right.
But we're taking 10 million out in 2019 and then X amount out in 2020.
Well, actually, we're taking like 12 million out, and
You are taking 12 million.
because 2 of it is, we're taking up to the $10 million, which is not taxed.
Oh, the non-taxable
And the 2
and
million,
then
which
2
is
million,
taxable.
which is the taxable.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
I can thank my favorite CPA for that knowledge.
And then in 2020, that's the X number we won't know until it gets to the market and blah, blah, blah.
Right, but it will be
Okay.
7 million in proceeds. So,
Okay.
when we first started talking, it was 4 million, we ran numbers, because you were non-rated, and then I have to say again, A plus bond insurance just was a new ball game, and it got you pretty close to $10 million. So that, I'd say, and it goes to credit to you guys, is the advantage of this.
Stefan, I missed what you just said. I was asleep. 7 mil, what did you say about 7 million?
A year ago when we were talking
Oh,
about
a year ago, we were talking about
Two-
7
2
million. We
years
could
ago.
only get a new money, and now we're going to be able to get,
Close to
okay,
10 in proceeds.
a total. Or 3 million this year and 10 million next year, or it's going to be 10 million overall?
Overall, $10 million, new money.
Okay.
New money.
Okay, and so then my question is, and this is not going to raise our levy.
Correct. We are gonna have to prove that out. We've been using a constraint of $1,650,000, that was your
Okay.
max test, maximum annual debt service. As long as, we're not a penny smart here, we can go under it, but to answer your question, yes, we will not, we will not be able to.
And if the numbers come in better, then we could potentially get more than the 10 million.
You're limited to 10 per parameter, so you have to readopt.
Well, but next year, we're only doing it 7 right now.
Right, but meaning you then would, the parameters ordinance that you adopted a few months ago, and not to exceed 10 billion. So you can't reach the 10 billion, you'd have to readopt. the
We need to do a
parameters.
new law, new
Well-
ordinance.
But that's for the 2019 bonds, right?
Yeah, but it's a project specific. It's, you take the two
Okay.
together to get to it. But I mean, it'd be simple readopting.
I mean, because if that does come, I mean, there's plenty of work to be done. So if that does come, that's something that I think we'd all like to know.
So the 2020 ordinance, we could we could modify
As long
to,
as it fits
So long
into
as
our
whatever,
parameters.
right, so long as whatever the debt service is going to be is not going to exceed what it currently is now.
Right, because
Right.
we want to keep the
We
levy,
already agreed that we were going to keep the
the
levy
levy,
the way it
the
was.
levy's going to stay the way it is.
so we have to spend some of this money within 6 months, is that right?
No, you would have to, yeah, it's a small amount. We had council look at it, but it's more of a 3-year test.
And how long do we have to really spend it?
You have to have reasonable expectations, I think it's 3 years, 85%.
Okay.
That-
Yeah, that's reasonable.
But it's
yeah, that's
reasonable
Right.
expectations, so if you don't
Right.
need it,
Right, you have to have a plan.
Right.
Correct.
And given that we have the plan, we've got the contract waiting in the wings, ready to go, we'll be starting to spend that money within 6 months next year.
Attorney Valdez, at what point will you be sending our contracts to the attorney that were,
Next week, I'm probably going to check Joe's schedule to get him in contact with the review council from Tressler so that they can get any expertise they need while going through the architectural contract.
And I told Sandy that I'll be reviewing that and I'll get my comments to you and her and whoever else, my concerns and comments at the beginning of the week. Why are you smirking?
Because I'm just happy to be here.
all right, well, that's-
Anything else?
Any other questions? All right, so board doesn't have to do anything. Now we're going to roll into the market. Thank you on that part. Next item on the agenda is the
Mayor, could I interrupt for a second just to make sure that I'm on record being at the meeting
Yes.
via phone? Thank you.
Do you want to formally announce that, or?
Alan heard him.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now we'll roll into the discussion of underwriter fees. This process has taken a lot more effort than initially received in the beginning. So we all saw the new letter as part of the attachment to the agenda. Do you guys have any questions or anything else you want to discuss about it?
I actually have something. So this is my first time dealing with any types of bonds, so I'm not sure how any of this works. I was a little concerned when I saw the letter, and I was concerned because it kind of seemed to me that in the 10th hour we're discussing this, when we're ready to go to funding and, it makes me a little uncomfortable personally, because I kind of feel like, again, we're in that 10th hour. We've been trying to get to this point for 2 years that I've been working on it, with the police department and everything else. And so I'm just not sure, is this how regular course of business works? Is this something that, what's the difference between the original agreement we entered into? Why is there this substantial change? And if we're uncomfortable with it, what bearing does it have on going to market?
Well, I'll first start with the second question. Nothing is your loss, and we love and appreciate your business. Full stop. But now, talking about the bond, we are the only person in the cable just televisions we're regulated that has to put in an engagement letter, have it signed. This is nothing. All of our deals has to have an engagement letter, and we're required to put it. So I simply just put the pay on the last bill. Every other party comes now with their fees, and a lot of times, well, they're not debated here on council and say this is what we want to get paid. It goes to Maggie, it goes to wherever she wants to go. And underwriters council is the same way. What we did, we tend not to like to do this. This has been a 1.5-year process. Appeal files, very large, and look out into the market when we look at hours in from quantitative work to strategy development, sitting on a rating call for developing the rating strategy. And I came and I want to be first up front. These guys are very important to me. This is not, we're not lawyers. We don't do billable hours and all that. We get charged this and I don't get into the minutia of it. But we came up with this would be a fair record, looking at deals in the market and what we've done in the past. And I'll quite frankly say that village working in a partner has been one of the best in my career, but it's been a very involved process with working with bond counsel, working with the village to unwrap proceed problems, to answering, to being here to, if you look at just the comprehensive amount of work we did on the transaction, and I'm actually going to agree it was one of the most important. Because, like I mentioned, because of that rating, which I'll say was because of your good work, but we were a partner and putting together a presentation, it generated another $600,000 in savings to the village. So we think, that our work and this fee is justified by the results that we're seeing here.
Can I just say one thing too, Stefan was really, really instrumental. One of the little things that you didn't even mention, but when they came out, when amalgamated, they're going to be our escrow bank, and they set some fees, and they were, when I saw them, they were, oh gosh, they're a little bit higher than they've been for our other months, and so he said, I will talk to them. And he talked to them, and they lowered the fees. I mean, that's just one of the little things, all these little things that, and some of them are big things that have been going on for the 1.5 years. Every time we ask them, can you run another schedule showing us this versus that? It was a lot of work. And this whole thing, we mentioned it briefly, but the whole thing about untangling that taxable versus taxable net, that really takes a huge problem away. And that was brainstorming on the phone, remember that? And a couple of days worth of calls back and forth. So it's, pretty significant. It's gone on behind.
I have to be clear too. Fee looks like a fee, but there's 3 components to it, and it doesn't even go to our banking necessarily. There's something called, the most of it is called a takedown. And what that goes to is our underwriting desk, who motivates salesmen to sell bonds. Why do you care? Because what is a basis point on $10 million versus a fee? So this, I'll be frank, it's a capitalist system, and they tend to look at deals that pay them more. So this doesn't go to my pocket necessarily. Some does, but it goes to the sales force to sell your bonds.
But all the work that was put in, and I acknowledge and I realize that this was a ton of work. This was just not like an over a weekend, let's get this done. Isn't all the work that you did on this just part of the normal course of business when you're working with a client to get a bond done? like helping them go through ratings, talking to bond counsel, untangling problems. I mean, isn't all that minutia usually part of the little daily grind of getting these deals done?
That's correct, but I can give just an idea. I also do Linux work, and their rating process, because they're already rated, that AA plus took a book. And I mean, it's not like where you go, most issuers have a rating, so you're maintaining the rating. It's not a new process such as this. It's really non-rated. I don't think we ever had a rating, and to go through that and to see what we're expecting A plus. I think our value. To be frank.
And we spent a lot of time on this rating call, which was pretty, well, I thought it was pretty tense. I didn't liken it to being Spanish Inquisition, because it was really a tough call. And at first, Steve didn't seem very open to rating that.
He's a tough customer.
And, you know, I mean, that alone, we spent a lot of time, then the book, and then he opened up, and we were asking questions, and then, you know, it was a process, and he helped immensely. He came and sat with me on the call, because, you know.
But with that particular thing, wasn't it, he was dead set no at 11 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock he was a yes to give us the rating?
Well, no.
He was, no, he was not gonna, his concern was your disclosure was so late that he called me after receiving the application saying, my concern, I won't name the other people, he said it, I know exactly what he's saying, is we're gonna have to pull the rating by summer because we can't get good disclosure. So what we had to do is go to the auditor, go to Maggie, and get assurances of when the 2019, fiscal year 2019 was going to come out, and the 2020 was going to be that time, and get him comfortable. He took it to another.
Isn't 2019 done?
It's going to be done, what was it?
January.
January. They said the end of January, but he gave us the tentative date of January 6th or 8th, the end of January.
So getting him comfortable, because S&P was going to say we're not going to rate it, because we don't think they can get disclosure on time, and it was the review process showing, I was kind of showing, you know, each time we were getting better and better, and then to have Waterbox said, we think we get it by January, But to answer your question, just the amount involved, a lot of times you'll tend to just think, I mean, it's just a thing, so it's not as involved as the process here.
Well, I was involved in some other bond, some of the earlier bond that we did. And again, running all these scenarios multiple times is not unusual. That's just part of the course of business. And I remember that. We were working with Mr. Vail at Bernardi. And lots of questions, same thing. And I believe Don Allen, we tried to get rated unsuccessfully. So we went through a lot of the same processes. We did. But they, and actually, I had suggested that they lower their rate because of the village's financial situation, which they did at the time. So, because I was just a little bit taken aback that we get this December 2nd. And I was just assuming that what we had passed last year, this is all part of the normal course of business. We've gone through this before.
Part of my question, I'm not sure I understood. Is this something that often happens at this point with villages when we're going to, where you're renegotiating fees?
Usually no, but most people don't, most other providers just provide the fee. So this is when cost officials are compiled for the cost officials.
So the fact that the work that Bear did brought the village $6 million more in new money doesn't mean anything to anyone?
It means a lot to me, and then that's certainly not, if that was the impression that you got, that's not what I'm trying to say. I just was very surprised to see it, right, when we're doing I was a little shocked, and I didn't know, and I don't know if that's customary or if that's not, and I feel like I was just a little taken back by it at that point. I wish, from my perspective, being new to the board and never going through this process before, I wish I would have had these conversations with you, or we would have had these conversations over the last, in August, in September, when we were talking about these things, because then we would have known, that these are the possibilities. It just, the timing of it really did just kind of struck me very...
Even before the whole rating situation happened, right before or after the rating situation, if we would have known this was coming down the pipe.
All right.
I mean, and I'm trying to, we got your new agreement today, and I, on short notice I'm sorry, we did get it on Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Trying to go through it, and I'm trying to disseminate what's the, under paragraph 1, the bullet points, what are the services to be provided by Baird, and, I'm trying to go through this document to see what the difference is from the first document we sent.
It's the same document. We sent the first document, and I know the mayor wanted council to review it, and this one, there's no, right? There's no change to it.
I didn't mean that. I mean, we still need to review it. I guess the point of Baird coming to the village and asking the village to agree to pay a higher fee was because Baird put in more work. So that's what I was looking for in here. I was looking for more bullet points of what in addition, all the things that you mentioned before, I was looking for that in this document.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is a legal document that we have limited opportunity to change. It comes from Baird's lawyers, so I started talking with it, and they don't like it.
Is there any specific kind of information that you would, looking for from them to justify the increase, or any more detail that would help?
Well, if we could have gotten that before today, yeah, that would have been really helpful. I mean, we got a message from you that they did a whole lot of extra work, so they're looking to have a higher rate, but...
It's not documented, and it came very late. And
It
again...
did not come late, it came right on time, so. Why don't we do this?
Carl, hold on.
Yeah.
I totally understand what Karen Christ just said. I totally understand her comment. We got this on Monday.
Yes.
Which was just 2 days ago.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the standard time.
Late in the process.
No,
I
it's
think
late
is
in the
what
process is what
Late
she's
in the
referring to,
process.
and that's what mine and Sandy's concern is also, is that the village is being asked to consider a higher fee, and we're being asked to do this very, very late in the process, when the conversation should have been happening several weeks ago.
Or even 6 months ago. Again, this is not the first time the village has gone through this process, and we didn't have the other firm come to us at the 11th hour and say, oh, sorry, we want more money. I'm sorry. Again, just having a fiduciary responsibility to our residents, this is the money that the taxpayers have to pay. It is. And we get this thing just right as they're getting ready to go to market, and they had to know that this should have been provided to the board weeks, if not months ago, and there might have been some room for some type of discussion, negotiation, something.
Can you tell us, based on the dollar amount, okay, of the $10 million bond that we're going after right up front, what's the difference in dollars here? I can't calculate that fast. It's going from 14 per thousand to 17.50 per thousand.
On a dollar basis, for the entire transaction, it's $60,000.
And that's between both issuances, 2019 and 2020?
I think we need to be clear here. This is only for the first transaction. This is
for
not-
this 2019.
This is not for, this is our fee forever. This is just for this deal.
But this deal meaning the
Meaning not
first
the
half
second.
and not the second half?
Yeah, that would be the original. I thought, yeah, I think that. I didn't think that. This is not, this is just to recognize the work he did. If you think about it, the next side of the deal is we won't have done that work, because we have that rating on that.
So the 1.75% will be for this first issuance of this first $10 or $12 million.
Right.
And then in 2020, when we get the balance of the bond funds, it'll be the 14.
What we
the 14,
negotiate.
the 1.4.
So here, sorry, it's in the numbers, but we have it broken out, but for the other issue, it's just a percentage, so it does not include the increase. And I apologize late in the process, but this is what these, this is kind of when there's the billable hours and we start to look at our deal file. But I completely hear you, and at the end of the day, say to you and the rest, which is very important, and I don't want a bad taste in your mouth. So I apologize.
I think to be fair too, in the engagement letter, it said you were going to help with the ratings, but it did not say you were going to help with the bond insurance. So, right there was more work to do.
That's one thing I didn't mention was, Assure they'd come into the 12th AA because they know you have exposure to you. And they told us their internal model should double B. So it was working with them. But I don't want to make it sound like you're a great guy sitting there, because I look at Maggie and he's working, getting information and working hard. But getting bond insurance on this without the A+ rating, by the way, that hadn't come out, because that would have saved money, because you could have thought bond insurance non-rated.
So do we have to get bond insurance on this or no?
If you're at the cusp of AA-, a AA category is usually the break point. We did a cost benefit that makes sense to get bond insurance, especially with investors looking at you as a non-rated
But
2A+.
is the bond insurance less expensive now because we do have that A+ rating? Or is it still the same?
It is, they lowered 2 basis points, but it's bad. It was lower than the rest.
Okay.
Didn't most of this additional work though run later in the cycle than expected?
It was rating and bond insurance, because a lot of it was numbers you guys come to for our deal files, because in the hours, 18 months ago, looking at $5 million for the project, when the project came, and then we were doing this project, and then the rating process was the
And we also ran quite a few scenarios. More than I was surprised to see how many scenarios we ran through this process, too, for him to produce new numbers.
All right, so just so I can make sure I'm clear on this, the 1.75 would be for this first 2019 issuance, and then when we do Part B in 2020 for the balance of $7 million or whatever it is, that'll be 1.4%.
Correct.
Anything else?
No.
All right. I think I will end that part of our discussion for now. So, hoping to hear good news on Thursday,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
or Wednesday.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you very much.
And Maggie.
Yeah,
And Maggie.
Thanks,
Maggie.
Thanks,
Thank
Maggie.
you, Maggie.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were leaving, Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
You mean you don't want to stay, Maggie?
Okay.
All right, my next item is about the insurance. Trustee Crowley started the insurance committee, and they had discussions about it, and they came up with an answer. So I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Crowley, unless you want me to make the motion first to go with the recommendation of the committee. Your
Whatever
choice.
you'd like.
Well,
Might as well.
it's your baby, so I thought you may want to make the
Attorney
motion.
Valdez, what is the proper procedure?
Make a motion.
Yeah, discussion during
I think you've had a lot of discussion.
All right, well, then I will make a motion to accept Blue Cross Blue Shield for next year's insurance.
I will second.
Any discussion?
Again, I just want to thank Trustee Crowley for taking this, which was a little bit contentious issue, and for shepherding this and setting up everything you did So we have an insurance committee, and I think the increase that we are realizing from Blue Cross this year is minimal thanks to your efforts.
Well, thank you, but I think it was a group effort. I had a lot of help, and, you know, the employees stepped up, they came in, they talked, we were able to talk, we were able to have communication, we were able to come up with some agreements, and I think we were able to put in place a good process for moving forward on how we can handle these situations so everybody feels empowered and everybody feels like they have a voice at the table, which I think was the intention of this board to begin with. So I wish I could take the credit, but it was really everybody. And I think everybody, at least, and Trustee Cagney and Trustee Killelly can also talk to our insurance meeting. I think that everybody was very happy with the outcome of it. And I think that the negotiating that Horton did for us and went back, and the advice that they gave us, and the president of Horton coming out here and talking to us that day, I think really made a big difference and really gave us some good starting point on how to make sure we keep this momentum moving forward. So I think it's a good deal. I think we are, saving money for the village, we're saving money for the employees, and still giving a good quality product.
And
Thank you.
I want to thank you too for finally bringing this on board. The insurance committee was hoping for it a couple of years ago. Now the wellness committee is next. I'd like to see that getting fired up as well.
Yeah,
So-
well, based on what we discussed, I did send the email to everybody. There's a lot of talk about wellness, and I believe that this committee will kind of have an offshoot. We were talking about in March, setting up a meeting so that we could also talk. We need to get our CBAs on board with that. We need to make sure that we're, offering the best possible wellness opportunities for employees, which will, in return, which I did not know, keep our premiums low and help our premiums. So I think it's a win-win, and I think it's going to be interesting for all of us going forward on how we're going to, implement it, and, the benefits it's going to bring.
I'm looking forward to it.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Trustee Ivan,
Aye.
Trustee Crawley,
Aye.
Trustee Cagney,
Aye.
Trustee Gillis,
Aye.
Trustee Killelly,
Aye.
Trustee Kreis.
Hi.
Motion carries.
Thank you all so much. And you'll let Maggie know that this was approved.
Yes, I will. That concludes my business.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Kreis.
Okay, so I'm going to start out, first of all, I've got a number of updates that came through. I'm going to start out, first of all, with the not-so-good news. I have been working, I think, as you know, with Cook County to try to see about Kedzie Avenue on a no-cash bid. And they do a pre-review, so you can see if the PIN qualifies. And after, probably I've been working on this probably 3 to 4 weeks now, unfortunately, Kedzie Avenue property that has the building on it at this time does not qualify for no cash bid.
Did they tell you why?
Oh, I got it all, yeah.
I don't understand what that means. Can you explain what that means?
So in order for us to pursue a no cash bid, a property would need 2 years of forfeited delinquent taxes. This only has one, 2010.
Wait a minute. Only the 2010 taxes have been forfeited?
Forfeited delinquent, okay? The Cook County taxes system is very
Because my understanding is that the
convoluted.
taxes haven't been paid on that.
Forfeited delinquent. And maybe the attorney can expound on that, because I don't understand all of
Because
this.
the owner hasn't been paying any taxes on it,
Well, the
right?
owner, it's exempt. Now, it's been exempt, they filed for exempt status, okay?
Oh, okay.
So, over
For
the
that
counter,
For the pin with the building on it.
right.
Okay.
The other 3 pins have tax certificates through the Cook County Land Bank. I've been able to verify that, okay? If there are pins that have 3 years or more of delinquent taxes, not forfeited, delinquent, just delinquent taxes, that PIN could qualify to be offered at a scavenger sale. This PIN with the building on it appears to have 7 years of delinquent taxes, okay? However, none of this is easy. For a successful no-cash bid at a scavenger sale, this could qualify. Let me see. So we would have to, and there could be a hitch in the giddy-up if somebody would overbid, a private buyer would overbid, or the delinquent taxes would be redeemed, which I don't think will happen. But just to give you a timeline for this process, because I was hoping we would have a resolution, no cash bid, and start moving, and then maybe within 2 years have the property. Well, that doesn't look like it's going to be a reality. So, I think the best case scenario here would be, we will watch for the 2021 scavenger sale. That process would start in the summer/fall of 2020, with the actual tax sale to be held in the summer of 2021 or the winter of 2021. So there's not going to be a quick, easy fix to us trying to pursue that property. Okay? I know, I'm not happy about this either, but this is Cook County, okay? I'm going to continue to do research and see what I can find out and see what other municipalities may have done in similar situations. That's the reality of it. That's why they do the pre-review, so you don't go through the process of the resolution and submitting the package if it doesn't qualify.
So in the meantime, if it just sits there, if the 2010 taxes you said were delinquent and...
They're forfeited delinquent.
What does that mean, forfeited delinquent? Attorney Valadez?
Forfeited would mean that they are now at the point in which...
They can be sold?
Right.
So if that's the case, if the 2010, then, but Karen, what about the prior year's taxes? Are those all delinquent too?
Well, I think
Or
there
not
may be an issue
forfeited?
that Trustee Kreis mentioned, that this is, once they became and applied for nonprofit.
Exempt.
They're exempt, there are no taxes for those years. So they.
Not for the prior years.
No, but she's...
For the after years, for the, after 2010, I thought.
But she said it has 7 years of delinquent taxes. Not forfeited delinquent,
Yeah.
delinquent taxes.
So taxes are still owed, sounds to me like taxes are still owed on the property.
They're
from when it was
delinquent.
owned by a private party, and then once it was donated, from that point going forward, then there are no taxes on it.
Well, they
So-
filed for the exemption. So with these 7 years, there is a possibility, the way I'm reading this, that we could potentially, in the summer of '21, start the process for the 2021 scavenger sale. But that wouldn't happen until summer of 2021 or winter of 2021.
But that would mean that the village would have to buy the taxes?
No. You start the process to get the tax deed, okay?
Okay, but we wouldn't have to pay?
No. You go through this process, but this is another, it's not no
But right,
cash.
when you go to a scavenger sale, when you start the process, isn't that the same process a private party would go through? Like if I were gonna go waltz into the county courthouse and say, I wanna buy the taxes on the
I
building?
don't know, I've never done this before.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm not a scavenger, okay?
Because the way I understand scavenger sales is you go in and you have to put a deposit down and you're buying the taxes essentially. You're paying the county the tax bill. I don't think we want to do that.
Well, no, because we're a municipality.
Okay.
So I think that therein lies the difference.
Okay.
Anyway, my point is, we're not going to be able to do the no cash bid.
So did somebody buy the taxes for this 2010?
No,
Not for the building, no.
no.
So no one bought them?
There was a tax buyer,
So there's no one to redeem them? is what I'm
No,
saying.
they had an active purchaser from 2015, but I don't think anything has happened with that. Again, this is really complicated stuff. Would you agree?
It is complicated because you have multiple pins with different statuses. You have a nonprofit involved, and you have the condition of the premises now, which also puts forth a potential demolition as well as liens.
No, you can't do that, though. You can't do the liens.
We can't do that.
We cannot do the liens, because the information they gave me today from the county, again, and I just got this late this afternoon, and I've been trying to digest it. Let me read this to you. No cash bid pins approved for purchase at a scavenger sale may not have municipal liens. So we couldn't file a lien, or we wouldn't qualify for the scavenger sale.
Well, I think we could have liens, but we'd have to release them.
Yeah, so why do it if we're gonna go for the
Well,
scavengers?
So we don't know if we're going for the scavenger.
So, well, it might be worth it for us to put the liens on there in case
Yeah.
somebody else goes in to take them.
Well, just Monday, the village adjudicated $14,000 more liens for the not registering the property as vacant and for having an unsafe building. So the village has another $14,000 to throw into the kitty for what the property is going to be liened for if they make that decision.
Nick, what other options are there for this building that's dilapidated, falling apart?
I
I mean,
think
it's
the-
been like this for, I mean, there's
A
got,
meteor
I
from
just
heaven?
can't believe.
Trustee, there are
there's
whole
some-
swaths of the west side and south side in the city of Chicago that have similar issues as this, and that is ultimately, nobody wants the property. And the owner, because they're not vested in it anymore, or in this case, because it's a nonprofit, he's not paying taxes on it, has no interest to do anything.
But
So-
isn't there some sort of mechanism in the county to force an owner to do something with their property so that it's not a blight on their
Citations.
community?
Yeah.
Citations and liens.
And demolition.
Demolition.
That's our tools.
We can now go there and demolish the building.
We do have that right, the village does?
Yes.
We haven't done, but we don't have the money
We
to
don't have the
demolish it.
$600,000 to do.
And that's why there's,
$600,000 to
Give or
demolish?
take.
Well, and again, I'm still working with Sylvia Parham through the county, trying to start the process to compile
If
all
she
of.
sent you an email with all this, would you mind sending it to us so we can all read it and kind of get a better understanding ourselves for it?
Yeah, I can send you this email. It's not easy to understand. Okay? It's not.
But then if we demo it, if we get someone to demo it, and it's still owned by the owners, then
Somebody's got to pay them. Somebody has to pay the
Terrible
demo.
process.
That's why I'm working with the county. They don't have any CDBG demolition money now. They know we don't own the property. I sent them the demolition order, but they told me prepare the package, which is going to take some time, get it to them. In the event they get the money,
We'd be on the list.
we would be on the list. But they're still checking the legal status because we don't own the property.
But even though when we started this abandonment process with the South Suburban Land Bank, even though the owner came forward, you know, technically in my mind, he's still abandoned the property if he's not doing anything.
Which is why we have to continue to cite them.
Okay, so if we continue to cite him and he lays low and doesn't respond, and doesn't do anything for 2 more years, can we go back with the abandonment process and say, look, he stepped forward 2 years ago, but he hasn't done anything?
Because he,
And
you know,
for 2 years, he's abandoned his property again?
because all he has to do is show up in court and it stops the abandonment process. We're right back to square one.
Even though he's, for all intents and
Exactly.
purposes, has abandoned the property?
I think that the difficulty the village has with this property is explained by the fact that there's an owner of it who is acting in a manner which is not typical of normal owners. You don't allow your property to be ordered to be demolished, get tens of thousands of dollars of housing fines on it, not pay taxes and have tax liens on it to the point in which well exceeds the value of the property. Most owners walk away.
Right.
Most owners sign it over.
And that's what Brent Denson's firm was trying to do. Caitlin Sherrill was trying to convince him to deed it to the South Suburban Land Bank, because then they, they could extinguish the taxes and we could maybe, have a path forward for redevelopment. But once he showed up in court, and they wouldn't agree to that. They would not agree to that. So this unfortunately is something that is just going to be, I think, a bane in our side, and I'll continue to work on it and see, part of the benefit of working with the land bank is sharing the stories with other communities and finding out what they did. Did they have any successes along the way? So I just wanted you to know this isn't going to be an easy fix, okay? We're talking... Yeah, I know. You can't make this
We'll all be
stuff
living in
up.
Florida.
Huh?
It still won't be fixed. I said, we'll all be retired in Florida someday. This
Very
will be
possible.
fixed.
Yeah, and it was...
He has no reason to abandon the property. So all we can do is keep ticketing it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you wouldn't mind sending them that email, I'd appreciate it.
No, I'll get it to you. But on the good news front, I did get an email this afternoon from a Katie Pietrowska from Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and she said, "Good afternoon, Karen. CMAP has reviewed the Village of Midlothian's local technical assistance application for assistance with a stormwater management fee feasibility study. Your application is moving on to the next round of decision-making, but a final decision has not been made yet. The next step in the process is to set up a conversation with you to talk a bit more about the scope of the project, key deliverables, and timeline. After this conversation, CMAP will draft a project charter with this information so that CMAP management can decide if we have the capacity to select your project. We intend to announce final selections in late winter or early spring." So we're still in the running. There were 81 applications submitted by 70 applicants. And this is the same process I went through with the Stormwater Management Capital Plan. I was on about a 45-minute interview. So we're still in the running, and I need to set up that interview. So I think that's, doesn't mean I'm going to get it, but at least we're knocked out. We're still in the running. I wanted to bring up the village calendar on the website because I've been getting some complaints that it's not being updated on a regular basis. And so is there a process that we have? I'm not sure who in the front office would be responsible for like scouring what's going on throughout the village and getting it on the calendar.
No, people have to give Sharon the information to put on there.
Yeah, there's an application document. When I wanted to put the Fall Fest on there, and when I wanted to put the family scarecrow builds on there, I had to go on the village website and fill out the electronic form and submit it. And all the information that I put on there was then put on the calendar.
That's the process.
That was always the process from what I recall when Sandy and Carl first developed this. That was the process. It wasn't going to be up to the village to look in the newspaper or to contact any of the organizations to say, hey, what do you want us to put on our calendar? It's up to the businesses or organizations to submit the information that goes on there.
We put our own stuff on there, but as far as events outside of the village, those are submitted via the email, via the website, or via the calendar.
No, you're talking about village-sponsored events that are not on.
Like what?
Wait,
Is that right, what you're talking about?
The
Christie?
parade is, I looked this
The
afternoon.
parade is the Chamber of Commerce.
It's the
Well,
Chamber of Commerce.
it says village/chamber/park district.
Well, the village is not organizing that parade like the village organizes the Independence Day parade. The chamber organizes it, so
Doesn't mean that one of us couldn't have thought to tell
to
Sharon
put
to
it
put
on,
on there.
yeah. But I
Talked
mean,
to Carl
the
after
chamber,
last week.
the chamber submitted an event application for their Christmas party on Thursday. That's on there on Thursday. I'm not sure why they didn't submit one for the parade.
And that was talked about at a number of the chamber meetings about the village calendar. They have to submit the items
Yeah.
to the village.
So,
All right, well, I wanted to bring it up. Second question, when will all of the items that were part of Freedom Hall be reinstalled in the foyer?
someone was supposed to.
Susan, it's managed to get done. It's the Public Works is, we're scheduled with them, and so far we have not gotten a specific schedule to put it all up.
Some of it had to be updated.
Yeah, oh yeah, some of it was clean, all of it was cleaned up.
Okay, good.
Something.
The only thing that hasn't been updated is the flag in the case. Somebody has to do that, so that's still out there. It won't go back up until that gets updated correctly. But all the other stuff will be going back in different locations and stuff like that.
It'll all be back in Freedom Hall, though?
It'll be all in the lobby, yes.
Okay, okay. But you don't know quite when?
No, we've been scheduling and rescheduling multiple times. All it takes is a water main, and then we don't have anybody available to do it.
Okay. For the agenda next week, Keep Midlothian Beautiful will have a thank you presentation. Could we get that on the agenda? Very brief presentation. And then, Mayor, do you have any update on the TIF? Because I just think we need to keep moving on that process, especially as we're talking about...
Mary emailed me after the last meeting. She was very embarrassed about the map being incorrect, and she was going to walk the whole TIF area once again to correct it. And I have not heard anything since before Thanksgiving.
As long as you brought that up, I was looking at I reviewed the TIF agreement today, and I was a little concerned when we had that TIF meeting that the TIF representative, the woman that was here from K. McKenna, seemed to be pointing the finger at Robinson Engineering for not providing a map or whatever. There still is an exhibit to that document they gave us that we still don't have.
Right.
And we talked about that at this TIF meeting 2 weeks ago. So I don't know why she didn't get on the horn to get that document to us, but I went back and I reviewed the TIF agreement, and nowhere in there does it say that Robinson Engineering is responsible to provide them with any documentation. The document says that they can rely on village employees to get them GIS data and some maps and yada, yada, yada. Okay, well, do we have email correspondence from them to Robinson asking for anything? Do we know if Robinson actually didn't follow through on something? Did they ask the question?
We got the bill from Robinson, the work on the TIF, that they did the GIS and the mapping, and the other thing was the list of the...
Did they provide it to them, to Kane McKenna?
That was the map you saw in the...
Well, then why was she telling us that Robinson did fail to give them whatever documentation they needed because they failed to give it to the village?
Because as the summer progressed and I was getting nothing from them, I went to K. McKenna and said, what is going on?
Right.
And then they said, well, we're waiting for the map. I said, from who? Well, Robinson Engineering. And then I had to get hold of Engineer Nagel, and then we eventually got the map. But we're still waiting for the list of all the PIN numbers as well. So.
And is that the exhibit that we're missing is the PIN numbers?
So...
But in the meantime, they've been paid in full.
Yes.
And they have given us a document that's incomplete.
Correct. And she was going to go out before Thanksgiving to rectify that issue and the missing exhibit, and I have not heard anything back since then. So I will once again reach out to them again. It's very frustrating. I get it. It's very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm very...
Especially since they did work for the village before.
And it was not like this. It was very quick, seamless. I mean, this TIF should have been in place by now. When I look back historically, how quickly it happened last time.
Not impressed with their
No, I'm not either. I told you it's very
poor
disappointing.
quality of work.
That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Gillis?
Yes, Mayor, a few things here that I just wanted to review. Trying to get a better connection here. Fire chief has received a resignation letter for one of our part-time firefighter paramedics, paramedic O'Keefe, who has taken a full-time job with the department just west of us. This was effective today. So that brings our part-time staff back down to 7. I know that the Fire and Police Commission is still working on establishing a current list. Hopefully that should be out by the end of December. The chief has also requested the board consider letting him roll over 10 vacation days that he has not been able to use in this year. So that's being he would like to have the board consider that and hopefully approve that or put that on the consent agenda for next week. And then a few other things. Just to go back to the fire prevention officer that the fire department was looking to bring into the fold to help with complete commercial, multifamily, and residential rental inspections. The chief has worked on a job description that I will forward to the board this week. We do have an ordinance already in place that has a $50 fire inspection fee for all businesses when they review or renew their license. It has been there, but we've never charged that. The building department is going to make sure that that is added on the form so that any new licenses that come up, that fee will be included to have the fire inspection completed. We do have to create a new fee schedule for the residential rentals and the multifamily inspections. The chief, like I said, has a job description. I will share it with you. And then if anybody has any questions, if you could get back to me on that, or if you have any questions now, I could hopefully help you with some answers. If not, I will review that information with you this week. Secondly, the fire department is looking to currently replace their cardiac monitors. The monitors that we have will be obsolete by 2021 and they will have to be replaced. The chief did budget $36,000 to replace one monitor this year. The fire department is also working with two different companies, getting information and some pricing. He will get back to me and I'll present that to the board. But basically, these monitors are going out of service and being phased out by the year 2021. So we will have to replace them. The chief was able to get good pricing from one of the vendors at 0% interest rates up to 5 years to pay. And roughly these monitors run roughly $36,000 a piece. But he's working to get some final cost information that I will share with the board once I get it. So this is just some projects we're working on. Trustee Crowley, I believe you're aware of the current problem with the fire department laptops. These are the old Windows version 7 that the fire department has.
Yes, we talked about that at our IT meeting on Monday, trustee, and we have a tentative plan in place for the computers that are able to be upgraded to Windows 10. It's a very minimal cost. There appears to be about 40 units in the village that will need to be upgraded. However, about 25 of those are in the process of being replaced because they are the in-car units. 20 of them or so are for the police department and 5 or 6 are from the fire department. So we did have that conversation. The proven is coming out on Monday to go over each and every computer as far as ones that need to be upgraded with the department heads and the outline for their server, which I'll talk about a little bit under my business, but that is in process, and we hope to have that done by the end of the year.
Okay, just to let the board be aware of it, the two computers that we were awarded grants for in 2013, that's the laptops are in the chief and the deputy chief's car. The other 5 computers that we have, those were donated at no cost to the village by Orland, a business in Orland, I believe. So these are the CF31 Panasonic laptops.
Yes.
Okay, and the other project that is going in, the fire department is looking for the pricing to change their current provider for EMS software programming. We currently have MedView. We'd like to change it to ESO, which is supported by Firehouse Software. Currently, MedView is being phased out by Firehouse Software, and a new programming software, ESO, is being brought into the fold, which is being used currently by a lot of our surrounding communities because, like I said, MedView is being phased out. ESO will help with the new monitors, will work well with the new monitors, tie into our EMS reporting and incident reporting, and it also help with downloading any pertinent patient information like cardiac rhythms and drug information for reporting. So they're working on pricing for that software for EMS program. And lastly, the Illinois Fire Marshal has decided to adopt the 2015 version of the Life Safety Code. And this will go effect January 2020. Being home rule, I do not believe that communities that are home rule, they may opt out for this, but the chief is recommending that we do opt in or follow the recommendations of the Illinois Fire Marshal. They basically will be using the 2015 version for schools and nursing home inspections. They last mandated the life safety code changes back in 2000. And currently we use the 2009 edition. But he is putting this information together for Attorney Valdez to hopefully draft an amendment or ordinance change if needed. But like I said, he is recommending that we do follow the Illinois Fire Marshal's recommendation of adapting the 2015 version. But that is all the project they're working in, and if anybody has some questions, let me know, and I will make sure that the board gets a copy of the job description for fire prevention officer. That's all I have.
Thanks, sir. Trustee Gabney.
Thank you, Mayor. Uh-oh. Oh, dear. Jerry talked for so long, my computer timed out.
You can remove that timeout.
I didn't hear you.
You don't want to hear it, Jerry.
She said you talked too long, her computer timed out.
Yeah, the computer
It's
fell
okay.
asleep when we were talking.
I recovered before I freaked out, so we're good, Jerry. No problem. First thing, I forwarded an email to Superintendent Swinert and Sperry today, along to Trustee Killily and Trustee Price and the Mayor. The Illinois Association of Floodplain and Stormwater Management sent an email to its members advising that the President declared a major disaster, which is FEMA number 4461DR in the state of Illinois, due to flooding on the Mississippi and Illinois rivers. And as a result, hazard mitigation grant program funds are now available statewide to applicants for projects that reduce risk to people and property from natural hazards and their effects. The deadline to submit a pre-application to the Illinois Emergency Management Association Mitigation Branch is February 7th. In December, they're going to be hosting 4 different webinars for any applicants who are interested. So I forwarded this information to the superintendents, hoping that they will both attend the webinar so that we can see if some of the tasks that we have on our stormwater management capital plan might qualify for some of these grant funds. And also to see, and I also included Tom Nagel and James Huss from Robinson in there for 2 reasons. Hoping that we could get some work done that's listed in our stormwater management capital plan, but also to see if any of the stormwater programming that they're doing in Bremen Heights and Belly Button Hill, to see if any of that, we could get any additional grant money to have any of that work done. So if you could follow up with Superintendent Sperry on that. I got the email.
I didn't get the email from you.
You didn't?
No, I did not.
You were in,
I did not, but Kate
I'll forward
Ivasic,
it to you, I apologize, I know, I'm pretty sure I
Okay.
sent it to you.
but I did get that from Kate Ivasic today as well. And she copied Superintendent Sperry on it.
Oh, I do apologize, Karen, you're not on here. I'll
Okay.
forward it to you right now.
No, that's okay, because I got it because Kate Ivasic sent it to me. Thanks.
Okay, so wanted to let you know about that. I'm sorry, you had a question,
Do
Sandy?
you want all the photos that we took this last month and a half?
I don't know yet, I have all those pictures too. I'll let them go through the webinar and see, and then we'll compile all of that stuff. So that was number one. And two, I wanted to let everybody know that our rain garden is about 99% decorated. The trees are up, they're all decorated. I had 9 fabulous students from Bremen come yesterday and today. They included Nicole, Juan, Ashley, Allison, Ulysses, Natalie, Abby, Alyssa, and Delaney. And they came and they put on garland ornaments and tree toppers today and helped us decorate. And of course, Chris and Helen were out there yesterday and they put up their beautiful decorations, so it looks really nice. So I just have 1 or 2 more items that are in the Public Works garage that we need to bring over. So it looks very, very beautiful. Let's see. And then lastly, zoning. So there's quite a bit of information that was provided to the board with regards to a couple of zoning issues. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Okay, Superintendent Weiner came across a couple of zoning ordinances that had been put through that need to be corrected. And we've got the 2 ordinances listed here, plus there's, we need to do an ordinance for Scrivener error for the 5 pins listed on that other document, on the Scrivener error PDF document. So I just wanted to ask if anybody had any questions with regards to any of these ordinances or needed to have a better understanding as to why they need to be revised, or I'm not sure what the correct language is, if we repeal them and then pass a different one in its place, or...
The 2 ordinances that you described, one ordinance was simply passed by the board in 2014, I believe. It simply was not legally correct. So it can't rezone something that was not properly, legally under the municipal code rezoned in the first place. So that's just going to be a repeal. The other ordinances you're referring to with the Scrivener's error, apparently there were 4 PIN numbers that were left out in another ordinance that rezoned some properties. There was no intent by the village board to leave those out. In fact, the village board intent was to include all of those. So what we're going to do is, the clerk is going to attest that he was here when the ordinance passed and took the vote, that there was no discussion and there was no intent by the village board to leave those out, that this was simply an omission of putting in numbers that the board intended to put in, and then you will pass an ordinance authorizing him to record it.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions with regards to any of those items? Okay. I believe that's all I have. I do reserve the right to ask questions at a later time in the meeting.
Yes, you do. Trustee Killen.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything with Public Works, but I want to comment on a couple things with buildings, and two things come to my mind. I don't believe that $10 million is going to be enough to build 2 buildings. And I think that's our first problem. And second of all, I don't think we have, at this point at least, we don't have any idea where 2 buildings can go. And I think that needs to be looked at before we would take out the second bond issue. It may be that 2 buildings can't be built and the plan has to be adjusted to do whatever the board feels is necessary, as far as that goes. Also, well, we need to look at that, and at this point, I don't think we know everything I've heard from Healy Bender over 2 presentations is basically that one property is viable at this point for...
Only the ones that they looked at. There's other properties they can look at.
Well, I think it'd be good to know that before we went ahead and did a bond issue for money that is or is not possibly needed.
Well, how can it not be needed? We know that we need to replace the police station, we know we need to replace public works, so
We might-
the funds are needed.
There's not enough money. And number 2 is, there's no, you're right, Mary, as of right now, under 2 presentations, they suggested one property that's really usable. Now, there may be other properties, but it'd be nice to know
One
that.
property for the police station or for public works?
Well, it was, the one property was originally the number 1 possibility for the police station. There was other properties, but there's issues with all of them.
Since I wasn't part of the conversation, either of the 2 RFQ processes, did Healy Bender or any of the others that submitted, were they able to give you an idea of, I know they can't tell us, yes, it's going to cost you $10 million to build your police department, but based on their experience of building other municipal properties, were they able to tell you that, give you a range of dollars per square foot, like it would be $100 to $150 per square foot to build a police station, and it would be $42 to $52 a square foot to build public works buildings?
Yes, they did give us that.
Okay, so if we know approximately square footage wise, did they, based on our programming as far as number of squads we have, how large our police department is, did they give you a rough idea of the amount of square footage we would need for a police department?
The contractor come in and do the needs assessment.
Yes.
And then they'll do programming then?
No, they gave us an idea.
Square footage, they gave us an idea how much that was. They also stressed that time is sensitive when it comes to construction materials.
Absolutely.
More
expensive, I guess.
10 million will be enough for do
But
police and public works.
The estimate to do police station would be roughly
6 to 7 million.
70,
Well, I said 7 million. Based on ours, that's what we're looking at. We won't know. Here's the problem that we have, and this is one of the things that I've kind of went back and forth with and talked to people about, is it's really hard to have the conversation about where before we know what we have, if we have money. So we've been under we've gone under the guidelines of, we have an RFQ, we picked a company to do that. They're the experts. They're going to tell us the footprint that we will need based on our needs assessment, and based on that, we will find the property or what we need to do to make that fit.
Right.
So,
They didn't just say one property was viable.
Right.
They said one property was more cost effective because we didn't have to tear down, and you're basically getting more bang for your buck with that one property because it's just vacant.
one property is viable. There's no other property they have that was available.
So one of the things that I look at is when we went through those whole lists, there was a lot of things that they talked about, soil borings and all of these things, and that continues to raise the price. That stuff gets very expensive. So what our goal was is we gave them, based on this board's direction, a list of, I think, 3 or 4 properties to look at to see if they were viable. Of those 3 or 4 properties, they came back and said, off the top of our heads, without doing anything more, at just looking at a footprint, this property looks to be the most viable.
Right.
So, at least in my mind, I can't speak for Chief, but at least in my mind, I'm sure they're taking into account that property doesn't have a building on it, that property, is vacant and, things like that. So I don't know what they're going to say once we actually engage them and they come up with the needs assessment and they do the actual footprint. I've heard different people talk about different things. Some people say a one-story building is more expensive than a two-story building. You need a bigger range for this footprint versus that footprint. I'm going to let the experts tell me. That's kind of my...
And depending on the size of the lot and the layout of the lot, the footprint will be different from one lot to another. So they may give you, if he says you've got three properties in town that are viable, you might get three different, you're going to have to provide, not full-blown out designs, but three different, rough footprints of what's going to look like.
Some of the other smaller ones, you'd be able to fit it, but that one, based on the laws and requirements, having enough for above water, stormwater retention, where smaller properties do these things.
They have to do underground detention, right? But I mean, basically, when it got down to it, if I'm not mistaken, it was $6 million they got down to, plus what Healy Bender's going to charge, which is $500,000. Then when we went through the public works process, we an off the cuff estimate for what it would cost to build a public works building based again on the square footage, which was an estimate, was $4 million. Now that didn't, and of course there is an allowance, you point out there is some allowance for spoil borings for the police station. But, it doesn't include other things, and of course the TIF may eliminate some of those costs too.
That's why
But
the TIF
it's
is
nice,
important.
just off the top of my head, it's nice to know that, and I'm suggesting maybe that the first part of this contract would be to come up with viable possibilities that at least could be used.
Isn't that part of the Healy Bender contract? Once we sign the contract with them, isn't that part of the deal?
Well,
Right.
right, it is, except, do we sign, I guess my question is, do we sign on for their services, and if we can't find a viable property, do we still have to pay them for their services, so on and so forth? I'm just saying, some of the properties that were listed, we talked about one today that is apparently not viable. There's another property that's not viable. One property is definitely viable. There may be other properties, but before we go ahead and just say, okay, we're going to do this, at least do we know that there's more than one property viable for a police station, and is there another property viable for public works? That's all I'm asking.
I don't think any of us have a magic thought. That's the one thing I don't think. So I do think that, at least in my mind, and from talking to a lot of people on the board, I think everybody kind of has this thought process that, we know that the police department, we're thinking it's going to cost about this much. We have kind of an idea of where it'll go. If you're saying you're not comfortable that you're going to be able to fit public works, even if we have to pull that off the table to fix it or to do whatever we're doing,
Yes.
we still have an entire building here that's falling down around us that is our contingency plan for any extra money we have or any money that, we still have to do what we have to do with this building. That still has to be part of the long-term goals. So I don't think we're beyond the scope. I don't think we're to a point where, I don't think we need to find the answers to all of our problems right now. I think, which is one of the things I've said, we can't move forward till we know we have the money. And once we have the money, we have we have one plan that's ready to go immediately. We have another plan that you guys have been working on that's close. And then, as our third long-term goal, we have this entire complex that has a lot of things wrong with it that will also need it. So I don't think any of this was ever intended to be one and done. It was a long-term goal plan for the entire village. So
Well,
that's kind of how I look at it.
Well, again, with the, and I understand what you're saying. I just saying, let's say the situation is you have enough to build a police station and you don't have enough money to build public works, but you can rehab it. Is that what the board wants to do?
Well, I don't think we can make that decision until we actually look at it. I mean, I wouldn't be
We
comfortable.
can't really, I don't think that we can make any decisions based on that what-if statement, because we just kind of need to keep moving forward. If
Right,
we're moving
right.
forward to getting the bonds,
Right.
then once we know after next week or 2 weeks that
Right.
we're good to go with the bonds, then we execute our agreement with Healy Bender and let them start their process of doing site selection. And let them take a look at all the inventory available in the village and come back to us and tell us, based on, the information they have, that these are the best 1, 2, or 3 locations for police and public works.
Well, I
The
guess.
other thing that we need to keep in mind, though, could I speak for a second?
Yes, yes.
The other thing we need to keep in mind is the fact that what are we going to do with this building in its current condition? I brought this up a few weeks ago, but I don't want to get away from the fact that, we still have a huge issue with the roof and the conditions, obviously, with the police and fire department with gender capabilities. If we have additional female firefighters or officers. I mean, I am not 100% sure what the conditions of the police department are, but I know in the fire department there are none. So, I mean, this.
I know the one thing that we've talked about is having this long-term plan so that we can continue to move forward as bonds fall off. There's another bond that'll be falling off next year, right?
2021.
2021, that, we would then be able to keep moving forward with the plans that we have and what becomes the priority as we go. I mean, short of getting started and making sure that we're making best uses of the money that we have available and, negotiating a better, contract.
Right.
That's why we're hiring this attorney to do that. I mean, I don't know that we can project anything further out.
So I guess in my own mind, when we're signing this Healy Bender agreement, does it obligate us to execute the whole agreement if we don't have the money to do it? If that's what I'm asking. What are we obligated to do when we?
If that is a concern, trustee, then we can have that negotiated into the contract.
Yes, that's what I'm
That is
asking.
something that absolutely we'll put in there, that at this point, the village is just securing the funds, and quite frankly, because of the multitude of needs with regard to the public works, with regard to what trustee Gillis just said regarding the fire department, with regard to this building needing substantial rehab and actually probably even demolition, whether we have the ability to do that or not, we don't know, but because of the multitude of needs, and it's going to be determined by the amount of money. And once we get that money, I think we can go to Healy Bender and say, this is all the needs that we have. We need a comprehensive opinion. Here's all the property that we have. Here's everything that we have to do. And they can present to you viable plans within that budget.
Well, if we didn't have enough money to do public works, but we had to rehab it, I don't want us obligated to kick in, X amount of dollars there because we didn't execute our side of the agreement. If there wasn't any two viable properties, I want to make sure that we're protected, that we don't have to execute the agreement if A, B, and C doesn't happen.
But this Healy Bender contract, to the best of my knowledge, this Healy Bender contract we're talking about now is only for the police station. It's not for public works.
It'll be the same basic contract for
No,
public
no,
works.
the contract will provide for them getting the Public Works contract too. So we're getting part of the reason that the Public Works Committee picked Healy Bender was because they proved to us that there was a substantial savings.
But if you look at the contract that we're discussing right now, the Healy Bender contract on the table right now is for X amount of dollars for the police department. does not include Public Works.
Correct, but that's at
So
that time, that's all they had.
No, I understand that, so I just want to bring that to everyone's attention, that this contract does not include both
But
projects.
it will include it because we're going to
But
negotiate
Don,
both.
it's realize that, it's going to be under a different document. It's going to be negotiated under a different document. So, we're moving forward with the police station. We're going to move forward with the police station. We have to sign the Healy Bender contract. To your point, if for some reason something changes, we need some sort of out clause in there. We need the same out clause in the contract we signed with them for the Public Works
Yes.
project.
Yes,
But
exactly.
they're both going to be under two totally separate contracts that are totally separate and distinct from each other.
No, they're not.
Don,
Because they're going to, I'm not sure, but they're going to be negotiated. If we
gonna be
do both
negotiated,
things,
yes.
it's going to be cheaper.
Yes, I think probably the most likely practical outcome will be, they will be two separate contracts that have been negotiated and contemplated as being together. So the pricing
Right.
and
I understand that. We're getting the benefit of pricing because they're doing two projects, but there's going to be two separate contracts. We're going to have one contract to operate for the police department and one contract for the project for the Public Works.
Okay.
Anything else tonight?
Nope.
Okay. Trustee Crowley.
Thank you, sir. Things tonight. First on my agenda, I have a document that Chief Delaney provided for the sale of 3 police department vehicles. These are vehicles that have reached the end of their life as depicted in Lieutenant Amline's memo, and we would like them on the agenda to be sold. If nobody has any questions, if you could have them on the agenda for next week, sir.
What's wrong with the 143,000 miles?
Well, it depends on the type of 143,000 miles trustee gave me. My other issue with the police department is what I have on the agenda for a closed session. And then next, IT, we had our IT meeting on Monday of this week. Privet has established the draft outline of everything that is on the servers for all of our departments. They are, as I said a few minutes ago, coming out next Monday and Tuesday to meet on-site with the department heads to firm that up and get a final outline of everything that's on the servers so that we can make sure that our new virtual server will be as close to functional as it can be when they install it. The other thing that we discussed was that we had about 46 units that appear to be running the Windows 7 environment. And as we've all been talking about in January, Windows 7 goes away and everybody must move over to Windows 10. Of those units, a number of them were the in-car computers that are with the police department and the fire department. The police department this board has already approved the police department replacing 19, I believe it is, of those computers through seized funds a few weeks ago. So those new computers will not be an issue with those will be out of that equation for the 40 or so. The fire department is doing the same thing. With the remaining, they will do an audit while they're here on Monday. They will look at the computers that will need to be updated if they're still in use. And we are hoping that instead of having to buy 20 or so new computers to have this done, that we will be able to purchase the upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10 to hold us over while all the departments are moving towards upgrading all of their different computers. So hopefully that can still be phased in over the next couple of years like they've been doing. And it looks right now that it'll be about $150 to $200 per computer if we can upgrade, which was a lot better than we thought it was going to be.
They're going to look at all the computers in all departments, right?
They're going to look only at the ones that are identified on our server that do not have Windows 7. So they will not look at all, because they get that reading
Don't
from,
have Windows 10.
I'm sorry, that don't have Windows 10. That is correct.
And then it'll cost 100 to 200 per computer to upgrade
150 to 200
to update it to Windows 10.
Some of them may not be updated.
if they are updatable.
Yeah, oh,
If-
okay.
You know, there's some that may have reached the point where they just
Yeah.
can't, and then I think then we'll
There's a
have
few
to
in
come.
front that will not be updatable, I know for sure.
And what we'll have to do is, that, you know, I don't think anybody really budgeted for that. Maybe some departments did, but when I glanced at it, I don't see anybody that budgeted for, you know, a number of computers. So we're gonna just have to make the executive, you know, kind of move that around and make arrangements.
Do a
for
budget
that.
adjustment. Okay.
They are looking into the Wi-Fi at the train station that trustee Ivan is working on, and also they are looking into some software for our printers for identifying usage and making sure that, you know, what departments are using what printers and things like that, because there has been a significantly higher number of colored printers and things like that, colored prints being used. And I know myself, in the police department, we've been doing a lot of our own printing instead of sending it to Daniels to kind of save that money. So I'm sure that's the way it is across the board. So they are looking at some of that software to kind of manage that and monitor it as well. Computers. CPC, I just want to remind everybody, this is the last week for the toy drive. We will be wrapping on Sunday. CPC has also taken on the task of having a junk in the trunk outing. They are planning on doing that on June 6th. I sent an email earlier today to the mayor, the clerk, Don, and Joe, asking if they would reach out to Metra to see if Metra would let us use their lot to have the junk in the trunk. It's kind of going to be a fundraiser. They'll sell, you know, $5-10 a spot. You get to come out there and get to sell your junk. I know Joe reached out to Metra. It does appear that they seem fine with us using the Metra lot. They are asking, though, that we update our OMA, and they will send us an agreement for our attorney to look at. So as soon as we get that, I'll get it to Nick and get it to the board, unless anybody has any concerns about that. We will then have that going forward so that we can use it for village events in the future. And other than that, I think the closed session is all I have.
Attorney Valdez?
Okay, very briefly, the International Property Maintenance Code draft has been given to the building superintendent. We're going to have discussions over the course of the next few days to fine tune it. It covers many subjects, including garbage about premises, junk, the kind of containers that must be used for garbage scavenger pickup, and leaves in the parkway at the request of the Public Works Director, superintendent, who said...
Leaves in the roadway.
Right.
In the roadway, yes. Yes. So we'll have new language in there, updating the language, making it more effective, making it more specific to cover all of those things. Have to bring up the cannabis issue before the board at this meeting to let you know. I don't know if Trustee Ivan has any early feedback from the residents of Midlothian, but at the closing of the survey period, the village will essentially have 4 days to draft an ordinance allowing or prohibiting recreational cannabis use. The issues for the board to be decided are going to be: where do you want these to be? How many, in the event that you decide that it will be allowed, how many you want there to be, and what rate you want to tax it. And those are things that will have to go into the ordinance.
And when is the deadline?
The deadline is January 1st, otherwise the village of
For the
Midlothian.
survey, I'm sorry.
The survey will close on December 13th.
Which means then we have to vote on the ordinance on the 18th.
Correct.
Cannabis is becoming legal January 1st.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So that therefore, if we don't have an ordinance in place passed on the 18th,
And what happens?
it will be legal everywhere in Midlothian.
Right.
As a special use, I would presume.
Right. And then we revise the ordinance or make an ordinance, and no one's coming on January 1st to get a license to have
Well,
cannabis.
as more and more towns turn down, Oak Lawn apparently is going to turn it down.
Anyways.
Anyway, yes.
Well, I mean, I think, I don't know, but my husband told me we just received our notice in the mail today.
Right, I
Yeah.
got my card today too.
And you have till the 13th to turn it in.
Or you can vote electronically.
Yes,
Right.
online.
Can I ask two questions? One, I think there's another thing we would have to decide if we did allow it, would be if a smoking lounge would be allowed on premise also.
That is true too. Yes, because that has not really
Because
been.
another town
Yeah, that's not
next
really
to us
been
has decided
contemplated.
to have a lounge. So for apartments, condos, townhouses, is there any way that the owners, or especially condo associations or apartments, that they could outlaw smoking in their building?
Yes.
Yes.
Private.
How about-
They would have to put that in the lease then?
Well,
We're
as-
talking about tenants,
Tenants.
like
Well,
even for
it's-
single-family residents.
Actually,
Tenants,
the
rental.
the Illinois Indoor Air Act still would prohibit smoking marijuana everywhere cigarettes are smoked.
So if you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes in the apartment,
You're still not allowed to smoke marijuana.
Marijuana.
But in your own apartments.
Correct.
It's up to the landlord, I don't know if the landlord.
It's a private association may set rules outlawing cigarette smoking and marijuana smoking. Well,
Cigarette smoking.
doesn't need to outlaw marijuana smoking because it's already
So
outlawed.
if a landlord allows their tenants, if the landlord owns a smoking apartment building,
Yes.
Yeah.
cigarette smoking allowed apartment building, then it would go to, then
Landlord still has the right to outlaw marijuana use in his apartments.
he still has a
The
right to.
owner, every owner of property, including municipalities,
Okay.
may ban marijuana on their premises.
But not
Doesn't
edibles.
change. You know what?
Smoking, but not edibles.
They can ban smoking marijuana.
Yeah, that's probably true.
No, they can bar marijuana on municipal property.
But we're talking about like in rental units, in rental apartments,
Residential apartments, the landlord may do that.
they can bar smoking, but to the mayor's point, he said edibles. Can they ban that too?
Probably not.
That's probably going to be a different question.
So they would have to do that in their lease. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if they ban smoking in their rental agreement, that includes cigarettes and marijuana.
Well, they could do either one. They could allow cigarettes but outlaw marijuana, is that right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's,
Okay, all right.
Can you start drafting any of your oral
yes.
ordinance?
Yes, I'm going to start
Because we'll
drafting.
need to, yeah.
But the main issues, again, are where you want them, if you vote them in, how much you want to tax them, and how many do you want to allow. A final item, well, that's it. That's it all.
Clerk Monson?
I just have one item. I shared with the board over email and in board docs a letter I received from an attorney representing the owner of Middle Plaza. I was able to speak with someone in the county assessor's office on Friday morning, the day after Thanksgiving, amazingly, to confirm that there is indeed a Class 8 only on the two parcels that pertain to the Walgreens building, not to the rest of the shopping center.
Is that shopping center legally two
Yes.
separate properties?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that shopping center legally like two separate
Yes.
properties?
Yes, the majority of the parking lot is one, and a small piece of the parking lot in the building is in another one now. There was a PIN division since it was actually built. The Walgreens is on two, and
The rest of
White
it-
Castle is completely separate.
Right.
They're on their own. So the Class 8 only pertains to Walgreens, the new building that was built in 2007 or 8, and the parking lot around it. Based on the tax bills I pulled offline, it appears that their tax bill in Class 8 is 50%, correct? Trustee Price? This come,
Well, it's,
If I call
no,
it
what's 12 years?
But
And
it graduates down for the
Oh,
last
Yes.
couple of years.
Okay. Well, the tax bill for last year was just under $50,000 for those two buildings,
5-0.
reflecting the last year, I
You mean those
guess,
two
of the
pins?
Class 8, for those two pins, yes. In stark contrast to the $550,000 for the other two. So they've outlined, you all saw the letter, he outlined what he referred to as a number of improvements. Those things sound like general building maintenance items to me. I think that they would have been better off coming to us with a plan to make a major investment in the rest of the plaza and ask for some type of agreement for that, but this is up to the board. I did tell Mr., got his name ready, Mr. Kaffetz, when we spoke on the telephone about 3 weeks ago, that the board had received a number, in my time on the board, a number of requests to extend Class 8s, and that I could not recall one that was approved because none of them came with plans to make any substantial rehabilitation or any improvements. And that if they wanted, some serious consideration given to this, that they should send plans and pictures and cost estimates and what they were planning to do. And the letter you see is what I got back, so.
Alan, were you able to get any further information from the county as to what documents they got from the village
Yes.
showing that the village approves this?
I got a copy of it, actually, yeah. So, and the reason I couldn't find it in our resolutions, we name all of the county requires a resolution from the village in order to grant a Class 8. And the document, we did send them a resolution, but it was actually around a redevelopment agreement. The title of the resolution didn't reference anything about a Class 8, and our files did not have the redevelopment agreement that went along with it, which I did find later separately, and the county sent it to me. So we did
We haven't.
execute that on December 3rd of 2007. We did say that we supported a Class 8 and that they couldn't do this redevelopment without it. So, I mean, it is legitimate. I kind of interpret the letter as they won't make repairs to the parcels that are not Class 8. If this isn't granted, they're referring to potential increases in rent for tenants and things like that. So I just don't think any of the things they list here are
It's all maintenance.
redevelopment
You're
type
right.
things. They're
It's
general
all
maintenance,
routine
things they should be doing
If they're
anyway.
not maintaining their property, why are we going to give them a further discount on their taxes?
Well, in the board's position in the past has been, because we've had a number of people come to us, like Mr. Submarine and Advanced Auto, and the board's position has always been, show us the number of new jobs you're going to create, show us your redevelopment plans. And so the Class 8 actually did what it was supposed to do for Walgreens, get them established. But the board has really, if it's just general maintenance, we're not going to extend a Class 8, or that's been the board's practice in the past.
Yeah, they referred to a cost estimate of $357,000, improvements to the subject property and shopping center over the next 3 years, including alarm systems, updating landscaping, replace, repair, and strike the asphalt, remove and repair broken sidewalks and walkways, and replace the roof, and improve the outdoor lighting. So to me, those are, as Trustee Cavey said, general maintenance items. I can't imagine the Walgreens building needs any of those things. There's virtually no landscaping there at all.
Exactly.
Other than
Walgreens building
Walgreens,
is
what they take
only-
care of, so.
It's only 12 years old. So all that tax savings he's going to get on the Walgreens building, he's going to put into the other building,
Right.
which he should have been putting in.
And I don't think
all of
that's the intent of Class 8 anyway.
No.
No.
And the parking lot is not compliant with our landscape ordinance today, currently either. So it sounds like this is a no, okay.
It's a,
Attorney, would you help me to craft a response?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the explanation that you put in your recommendation to the board was very well done in terms of assessing what it's supposed to be used for and that this is maintenance. But also add very quickly that I think the fire chief, when he acquired the property, kind of allowed a grandfather in for the sprinkler, so the village was already giving him a substantial break in terms of not requiring him to put in a sprinkler system.
Has that been a current issue that we've had?
Is it
Fire sprinkler system? Has there been some issue with that?
No. I'm saying that the fire chief could have required him to do
Oh,
that.
got it, okay. All right, that's all I have.
Then at this point, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal
I'll make the motion.
Also, to discuss litigation is filed or is pending.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor,
All
Mayor,
opposed?
Mayor, can I ask, for trustee Crowley's part, did you run this by Attorney Valdez, that it was legal to have it in closed session? Because I don't believe that it is.
Hiring someone?
You're not hiring a specific employee.
Yes. Yes, but what is specific employee?
You're hiring a specific employee? Okay. But the rest of that, as far as,
We're in closed session, there's no further.
fine, we can talk about it.
Yeah, it's about a specific.
Jerry, I'll
Okay,
give you a
fine.
call back when we get done.